There is a massive difference between treating YouTube as a hobby versus a full-time business. Over the years, as I built my main channel, Wagner Entertainment, to a full-time income, I realized if I wanted to scale properly, I was going to need to invest back into my channel to buy back my time and increase the quality of my videos. So today, I'm going to be breaking down my 7 specific purchases throughout my YouTube career, anything from a $50 tripod all the way to a $4,000 plus business back-end setup. These things instantly improved my channel throughout the years and were worth every single penny. If you want to take your channel full time, this is the exact roadmap I use to scale and elevate my channel throughout the years. The first 2 purchases I'm going to talk about are something that's going to elevate, of course, your production. Let's first start with the most obvious, the camera gear. I want to make this pretty simple. The camera body itself doesn't quite matter as much as the actual lens to create the best looking video quality. I could get really complicated and talk about the aperture and of course all these different types of lenses and camera bodies you can actually go with, but there's plenty of videos on YouTube talking about this stuff, so I'm just gonna go ahead and show you what I actually bought. Most creators I see go with the Sony type of cameras. Of course, you can go with smaller end cameras like the GoPros or Insta360s that are just smaller and easier to work with. This is awesome, but for these talking head videos or something that you need to shoot in a studio, if you're not on the go, I'd recommend something like this eventually. Of course, until you can afford something like this, an iPhone works perfectly fine, but once you have the budget and want to elevate your brand more and increase that video quality, this is something that's a good investment. This is the one I've been using for many years, probably like 6, 7, 8 years at this point. This is the Sony a7 III. They've been making this thing for a long time. This is not a new camera by any means. By now, they probably have the a7 IV out, and a lot of other creators I know use the a7S series as well. Those are more centered around for video. Probably get a brand new one of these for around like 17 or 1800 US dollars. But if you want to go into the a7S series, you can look at more like the $3,000 plus mark for a brand new one, if you want to go with one of the newer, nicer ones. So as you can see, you could basically get 2 of these camera bodies or maybe even 3 instead of one brand new a7S. I've bought all my camera gear used and it's been perfectly fine through many years. So of course it is personal preference, but of course you're on a budget here and you're running a business now, so it's smart to get the best bang for your buck. That's why I buy used camera gear. You can get a used one of these for around $800 to $1,200, so way cheaper than the a7S series. And it basically does like 90% of the same thing. So I'm of course shooting with one of these lenses, so I can't really show you guys. I'll show you guys some B-roll later, but let's talk about the lens, which is probably arguably more important for the video quality. A lot of creators use the 24 to 70mm lens, and I do agree that's probably the best one to do, and I've been using these type of lens for many years. If you want to get the best bang for your buck, I'd recommend getting a zoom lens so you can do everything you want, and the quality isn't that much worse at all. Your viewers definitely won't even notice unless you're a videography or photography channel. Then I think maybe it's worth the investment into getting these super nice prime art lenses, but for 95% of YouTubers, I think this lens is better, especially if you just have one lens. It does everything you need. There's 2 different ones I've used. Of course, there's lots of other ones to choose from, but I'll just talk about the ones I've personally used. I think they're amazing. So there is a Sony one, particularly from the actual brand, the same as the camera. It is a 24 to 70mm lens, and new, these lenses run about $2,000. That's right, almost double what this is used. Pretty expensive for the lens, but that's brand new. You can of course get these used, and I would recommend doing that maybe on Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist or eBay. I've bought all my camera lenses used and I've had no issues. Just make sure the seller is good. I think I got really lucky when I bought my lens. I think I bought for like $1,200 like years and years ago. I think now they're a little bit more expensive, but this thing lasted me I think around 5, 6 years, and then it finally broke like a year ago, and I think I haven't really gotten it fixed because it might be not worth it and too expensive to even fix. So I bought the Sigma 2470 lenses, and that's the one you see on the camera now. This lens basically does 90 to 95% of that Sony lens, and it's a lot cheaper. I actually wouldn't ever buy the Sony lens again. I think this Sigma one does basically 95% of the same thing. I don't even really notice too much of a difference. YouTube is all about efficiency and cost effectiveness. You don't need to get that super nice lens just to have it. It's not going to increase your views whatsoever unless, again, you are like a videography or photography channel. The Sigma lens, this one costs about $800 to $1,000 used, which is like basically half the price of the Sony one. Definitely would recommend this one. It's basically doing 95% of the same thing. That's what I would personally do, of course, with my budget, but it's up to you. A 24 to 70 is definitely the sweet spot. I don't think you really need a different lens than this unless you're super into that stuff. But if you get like a prime fixed lens, for example, it's 55mm, sometimes you kind of have to put the camera too far back, or you can't really get a super close shot without it looking weird. I just really recommend this type of lens that can zoom in and out. Real quick, I'm interrupting today's video to give you guys an exciting announcement. I'm actually opening up my very own YouTube consulting services. Behind the scenes, I've actually worked with a few YouTube channels already. And after working with me, one of the channels actually got a viral video that hit 93 times their channel average. And now that channel sits well above 80,000 subscribers. I've been doing YouTube for over 13 years now and been able to turn my hobby into a full-time career for the last 6 or 7 years now. If you're interested in getting your first viral video or just general YouTube advice on how to grow your channel, or you have some particular questions on how to grow your YouTube income or maybe budget it, or even have some more psychological roadblocks, or want some general mindset advice, I want to help you guys with any issues you possibly have. I've been doing this for many years and have had lots of ups and downs through my career. My services will be from anyone starting out their career all the way to people doing it for a full-time job. I'd love to help with you and your YouTube channel. To book a call with me, the link will be in the top description down below. Now with that said, let's go back to the video. Now let's talk about the, I would arguably, maybe even more important thing than the camera itself, and that's the audio equipment. This is the second purchase in today's video. I'd rather have an iPhone instead of a super nice camera like you're seeing now, but have a nicer audio setup than a bad audio setup and a nicer camera. Your audience, of course, doesn't really care about how good your video quality is if your audio is absolutely terrible and it sounds like you're talking in a tin can. For audio, I rely on two main setups. The first one is the audio at my actual studio or my desk right there, and the second one is arguably way more important, is the audio I actually have on me right now that's clipped on my t-shirt. This is the one you always see in all my videos on both my channels. This one is the Wireless Pro from Rode. I really love this. Of course, I'll talk about this in a second, but I'll talk about the other two setups I had right now. There's a whole bunch of setups. Of course, there's lots of videos on YouTube about all the different setups and a whole bunch of like 10 or 20 different setups you can do from DJI, Rode, and a whole bunch of other stuff in between. But of course, in this video, I'm just gonna be talking about particularly what I've used, just that's what helped me throughout my career. I started out using GoPro like in-board audio, and yeah, not good. I would not recommend doing that. If you're using POV cameras like Insta360 or GoPro, of course, they're way better than they were back then, but I would probably still invest in one of these. And then the second setup I moved on to throughout the years was the Rode Wireless, I think Go 2s is what they were called. And this worked pretty well for about 6 months to a year, and then I ran into a little bit of an issue where I think I might have overcharged them or something like this, and they just kind of stopped working well, and they just drained battery really fast and wouldn't really charge, and I just had some issues with them. So honestly, I would really recommend, if you do have the budget, to get the Wireless Pro ones instead. These are way better in my opinion. They're definitely worth double the price, and it has this really nice little case right here where you actually have charging capabilities in the case itself. So instead of finding a really weird USB-C charger and a outlet somewhere when you're recording, in many cases I'm like in my car or perhaps like at the airsoft field, I can't just have access to a wall charger. So having a little case that actually charges them is a game changer. I'd pay like $100 just for this. It is super important in my opinion. It makes everything way easier. And these have amazing battery life as well, just to note. The Go 2s, I think I can maybe record a few hours and they'd be pretty much dead at the time. These ones I could easily record maybe the whole day, like 4, 5, 6 hours straight. And if I do need to take a little like 20-minute break or 30-minute break to eat lunch or something like that, I'll just throw them in this case and they'll basically be already charged. So I really recommend the Pros over the Go series. But if you have a budget of like $200 to $300, most of the audio in the segment's pretty good, but I've just personally liked these a lot. Of course, the DJI ones and other brands are really good as well, but I've personally only tested these, so I can only speak for that. But I've had no issues. They're a little bit bigger than I would like, but you can of course just put them in the inside of your t-shirt if you really wanted to. But if you really didn't like the size, you could just clip these onto your pants and run up a little tiny microphone. There's lots of solutions. I just really like these the best. And for my desk, of course, I use the Rode NT USB ones. Of course, I used in the past the infamous Blue Yeti microphone everyone always talks about. I think this microphone is okay. I'd probably upgrade this eventually, but it does the job for right now. And of course, this plugs in directly to my computer. You can obviously get something that plugs into like a audio mixer, I believe it's called. It makes the audio way better, but this is basically like 90% of that. So I just use this for simplicity. So if I'm recording a video and I forget to do a little audio talking segment with this microphone, I'll just jump on that mic while I'm editing and of course just do the audio segment right there. I think it's pretty useful. Of course, it's just at my desk, makes it really easy. The idea here is not buying the most expensive things, it's buying the smart thing and thing that's gonna make you 95% as effective on a budget. Not just trying to buy the most expensive thing out there for no reason. But of course, if you're really into audio and stuff like that and you end up making a whole bunch of money with your channel, go ahead and get the super expensive stuff if you nerd out about that. But for me, I'm just all about the most effective and quickness for my videos. I don't really care about that extremely premium audio quality. As long as it doesn't make a huge difference for my viewers, I don't really care too much. Now moving on to product 3 and 4. This one's all about the studio, the environment, and the infrastructure behind your videos. So most people think of a YouTube studio as something super grand, expensive, and super nice. But for me, it makes sense more to go towards effectiveness, ease of use, and quickness of production. Having a nice studio setup is all about saving you time. I know when you're first starting out, maybe you don't have the space or of course the money for a studio. I know I didn't. I was actually recording long form videos that would get get millions of views in my backyard. I mean, of course, I didn't have the right lighting, audio, or anything like that. I just literally recorded in my backyard. I remember many days when the lighting was bad or it was raining, or maybe the neighbor was like mowing their lawn and I couldn't record. I had to wait for hours. It was super frustrating. The idea with a studio is you'd be able to walk in the studio, everything is already set up, and you press record and you're already ready to go. That's the idea behind a great studio. And then of course, the look of the studio, how nice it is, how much your viewers like the background look of it is of course the secondary thing you need to think about as well. But the idea here is removing any friction between the time that you of course script your video and record your same video. If it takes you 30 minutes to an hour just to prep to get everything ready, it's probably not the greatest studio setup. But if you can put your camera on a tripod, everything's already set up, click on a few lights and you can record within 5 minutes, that's what you want from a studio. Let's now go to my studio downstairs for my main channel and show you guys the behind the scenes and what it looks like. So the first heart of the studio is this desk right here. It's a electronic desk. It goes all the way down and up. Not sure the exact brand with this one, but I think it's around $200 to $300. It's an electric standing desk. By the way, guys, if you want to check out anything I'm talking about in today's video, there's a link to that down in the description below. It is from Amazon, and of course it's an affiliate link, so it will help me a little bit if you choose to buy something. Of course, don't feel like you have to, but if you want to buy something anyway, you might as well click the link to support me just a little bit. I really appreciate it. But all the links to most of the stuff I'm talking about in today's video will be down below in the description box. But I love this type of desk. Of course, it depends what type of videos you're making, but this one goes all the way down. So if I need to sit down and do an unboxing or stand up and do an unboxing, I can do either or. I don't have to have two separate desk setups. It's really strong. It's been holding like 50, 100 pounds on the desk at one time, for an example. So it's plenty strong. It wasn't too expensive, so you don't need to break the bank for no reason. I've used a couple different tripods and I would definitely recommend not getting a cheap tripod. I started out with like $10, $20, $30 tripods and I've had a few, almost camera scares when my camera would fall over and almost break. So I would definitely recommend getting a $50 to $100 tripod. I think the one you're seeing right now is from K&F and it's a 64-inch concept tripod. I think this brand ranges between like $50 to $100. This is a pretty good sweet spot. Of course, it's pretty much all you need. But if you're gonna need some crazier tripod shots, or if you're always outdoors and worry about the wind or something like this, you could get a nicer one, but of course it's a little bit overkill. Of course, if you're super into tripods, then of course go for it and get a nicer one, but I don't think it's too necessary. This is the actual lighting system I use. I'll put on screen what it's called. I use this and usually one of these soft boxes on the side when I'm recording. When I first started, these soft boxes were like $20, but now I think they're $30 or $40, but definitely worth the money. And then of course, the last thing to think about for a studio is of course the background. Depends on what type of channel you are. For a personal finance channel like Graham Stephan, he has a $500,000 car in the background for his studio. And then for the lower end of things, obviously I just have like a $30 softbox light to my left right here, the main camera you're seeing right now, and of course just the background with my little studio desk setup where I actually record videos. And that's basically it. I ordered a few things to go in the background right here as you see, but this is a super simple setup. There's really nothing to talk about here. This channel is all about the education and information, not really entertainment, so I don't need to have some crazy flashing lights in the background for you guys to watch it. But of course I want to make it a little bit more pretty for you guys eventually, so I ordered some stuff to go in the background eventually. But you don't need some super fancy setup as long as you have the right type of content people are going to watch anyway. But talking about the background of my airsoft channel, this one has a whole bunch of course airsoft guns and gear that's super rare and stuff that I personally just like. This of course is just a little bit cooler to look at when you're watching the video, but is it the reason people watch my channel? No, it just looks a little bit cooler in the background. So I switch out these guns that are in the background every now and then just to spice things up. But of course it's not something extremely expensive in the background, just something to look cool for the audience. But of course this all depends on what type of channel you're going for. You can either have something like this where the only background thing is nothing and basically the budget is zero. I already have all this stuff already. I just have my desk and my laptop basically. Or you can get as expensive as someone like Graham Stephan and he has a $500,000 car in the background. So it really just depends. But I'd say spending maybe like $100 to $1,000 on your studio just to make it look a little bit nicer is definitely worthwhile for your audience. Next up for purchase 4, it is external hard drives. As your channel grows, of course your equipment, you're probably gonna be shooting in 4K now and your file sizes are pretty insane. And just for all the footage itself, when I unbox and do all the other things when I go to the field and test the airsoft guns, my file sizes just for the folder of the actual video is usually always over 200 to 250 gigabytes, which is insane. So I go through these things like candy. This one is the Western Digital 8 terabyte drive, and these are getting definitely pretty pricey over the years. I think this used to be like a couple $100. Nowadays, I think this is $350 plus, but they are of course very important. If you're someone that just deletes all your footage after you're done using it, you don't want to get in the habit of that any longer. Something like this is going to save you lots of headache over the years and probably going to make you a lot more money than you think. I save all of my raw footage, all of my final video cuts, and my pictures, thumbnails, everything possibly on these drives because a lot of the times throughout my career, you can make compilation videos or perhaps you need some B-roll that you made a couple months ago that you you just need for a new video. For a great example of this, my most viral video on my main channel is a compilation video over a whole bunch of years of footage from my airsoft. That's what really took off my channel and has 26 million views right now. If you don't think spending $350 on this is a good investment, then you're probably wrong. And even if you're not ever gonna create a compilation video, the odds that you're gonna need a old picture for a new thumbnail or a old B-roll shot that you took a few months or a few years back is really high on YouTube. So again, just always get one of these. You can of course save all your files on your computer itself, or if you have a gaming computer like I use to edit my videos, it's gonna have some like inboard hard drives and SSD drives, but those go by pretty quick within like 6 months or 12 months if you're making huge video projects. So again, getting one of these eventually is a smart idea. I think I've gone through like 2 little hard drives and maybe like 2 to 3 of these so far in my career. So definitely a pretty crazy amount of videos you're gonna shoot throughout a YouTube channel's career. And the next form of storage you can use, of course, if you're having a team and you need to send footage to editors, is using something like Dropbox or Google Photos. Between the two, I like Dropbox better just to send videos to my editors. You basically just take all the footage from a day of shooting, upload it to Dropbox, and then they can access those files, download it on their computer, edit that, and that's basically how the workflow goes. That's a thing I wanted to mention, of course, if you do have editors, makes a lot less painful than, of course, like mailing a hard drive to an editor or something like that. You're just kind of gambling a little bit if you're sending footage all the time through like drives or SD cards, because could get lost or damaged. So setting up to Dropbox is always a good idea. So I would definitely recommend that. Do not cheap out on your storage. It will always come in handy to keep all your stuff eventually. Purchase number 5 that's gonna really come in handy during your career once you start to grow is your creative subscriptions, we'll call it. I have 2 separate ones. I have the Creative Cloud from Adobe, all of the products you could possibly want, the Photoshop, Adobe Premiere, even After Effects and stuff I don't even know how to use, like 3D graphics, all stuff. I have no idea how to use any of that stuff, but I still have it. I think the subscription for this is around $70 per month. Something to note here, if you're still a student and have a student email, you can actually get a huge discount on all of this stuff. When I was in college, I think I only had to pay like $20 or $30 a month for all of this stuff in the Creative Cloud from Adobe, but now I think I have to pay like $70 a month, which is not fun, but it's of course worth it. Once you start to grow a channel, it's really important to stop editing on your iPhone with free software, or perhaps something on your computer that's free. I would really recommend to getting your editing skills and how you actually know how to edit on a really nice software like Adobe. That's basically the industry standard. There's a couple others like right here I'll mention right there that people use as well, but the main one I see a lot of creators do is the Adobe products. So again, it's not 100% necessary, but if you really want to get to that industry standard point and you are a growing channel and you want to get your skills to the next level, I would recommend getting the industry standard, which is Adobe products. And the second one, of course, this is a important one if you're a growing channel that requires music, is getting something like Epidemic Sound. Many times comes in handy for most type of channels, but of course it's not for everyone, but I would definitely recommend checking this out if you need it. If you're still scraping the bottom of the barrel for free uncopyrighted music on YouTube, downloading 2-hour big files just to use 3 minutes in that huge file, and then just for it to get copyrighted a week or 2 later is not what you want to be doing when operating a proper business. Trust me, if you need music, just buy it. That whole thing of downloading 2 hours of music just to use a couple minute clip is something I did for many more time than I'd like to admit. It's not worth it. Pay the extra money, get the nice subscription. All right, so product number 6 and 7 definitely get a little bit more expensive, but they are super important when you really start to scale your business. You're gonna need to sit down for these ones. These are not cheap, but they're very important eventually. For purchase number 6, this one's actually a really big mental hurdle to get over for many creators. This is gonna help you scale your business to the next level and free up a lot of your time, and that's gonna be hiring a team. Hiring people that work with you part-time or full-time will really change your game on YouTube. Specifically, we're gonna talk about 2 separate ones in today's video. There's a couple different people you can hire out for your team. First, there's the product research, there's the scripting, there's the channel management, there's the artists, of course, for thumbnails, and there's video editors, which is probably arguably the most important, as that's gonna buy back your time the best. And of course, if you're a huge channel or business, there's lots of other things to hire out, but those are the main ones I see. So let's first start with a thumbnail artist to hire out. I used to spend a full day editing my thumbnails, but now I just pay someone a fixed amount just to edit the whole thing. I don't have to worry about it anymore, and they do a better job than me, so it's a no-brainer. Once you get to the level where you can afford this, I would definitely recommend investing back in your business and hiring this out. You're probably wondering, how much does this actually cost? Well, I've seen some people on Upwork or Fiverr, for example, that charge maybe $10 or $20 at the low end for a thumbnail. Usually these aren't the best. Maybe they're using a lot of AI nowadays, and overall they don't really put a lot of time or don't have the best skill set up. Once you get to the more serious thumbnail artists, I've seen people usually charge between $50 to $200 per thumbnail, $200 being really on the high end for some of the best work out there. Of course, you can get really higher than that as well if you want to get the absolute best on the platform, but that's a little bit overkill for most channels. So I would budget between maybe realistically between $50 to $150 per thumbnail nowadays. nowadays for a really great thumbnail artist. And nowadays you need the right person, of course, because there is A/B testing, which means they probably need to do 3 separate thumbnails. So of course, negotiating this and making sure they're on the same page on creating different thumbnail tests for you, or of course, they're gonna charge you more for all 3. You just have to negotiate that with the artist. But again, it's really important because your best time is best spent with the ideas and of course, thinking about the best thing to do and record for your channel, not necessarily just the thumbnails. And the next one, of course, I think is probably more important is the video editing. I would say this is more important generally just because it takes so much time for people to edit their videos, but of course it does depend on the type of channel. Some channels that are super simple maybe take a few hours for someone to edit the video, which is pretty unheard of for my type of channel. It would take me like a week to a week and a half working like 10 hours plus a day to edit a single video on my channel. So having that hired out is really important. Once you get into that like 30, 40, 50 minutes with effects and a whole bunch of different camera angles, it takes a long time to record and edit a video. So getting the editing hired out, maybe this saves me like a week or week and a half of working like 10 plus hours a day. So huge ROI on my investment. Now for the video editors, you're probably wondering how much these are as well. On the lower end, you could probably hire someone for maybe like $75 to $100 to edit a really simple video that's long form. And for the super expensive like documentary type of videos that are like 20, 30, 40, 50 minutes, you can expect to pay anywhere between like $250 to $1,000 per video. And if you want the top talent on YouTube, you could expect to pay maybe $1,500 to $2,000 per video. And if you want the absolute best, I'm sure some editors charge more than that, but they are probably the top like 10 editors in the world for YouTubers. But of course, these are super expensive and kind of overkill. I would recommend going with the budget between like $150 to $300 per video. But if you can afford more and you want the absolute best, then of course go with that as well. You're probably thinking to yourself, if you're a full-time creator, why would I outsource this? Of course, if I could just do it for free. But the idea behind this is saving so much of your time. Trust me, like this saves me so much time per month. It is awesome, a great investment, and my editors are awesome. So I love working with them and they do amazing work. So saving time is always worth the money, of course, if you can afford it. Because you as the CEO of your channel, the best time spent is working on the big decisions and of course, making the ideas for the next best video for your channel, not on editing a video that someone else can do for you even better. So if you're going to be building a team, probably on the lower end, you're looking at maybe $500 per month. If you're of course making a whole bunch of different videos, but if you're going with the best talent and you're making a whole bunch of videos per month, you could easily expect to go between the $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 per month or way more even if you're going with the absolute best talent. So it depends, but I would say on average, most creators that are doing this full time probably spend between $500 to $3,000 per month for outsourcing thumbnail artists and of course editors. I want to share a little personal experience with you guys to help you guys maybe get you a little bit more motivated to actually hire out your stuff. When I was actually at the peak of my career and I was getting like 1, 2, 3 million views on a long form video that was like 20, 30 minutes long, I chose to do everything myself because I thought if I outsourced anything, it would all just like break like glass and it would ruin the channel. But my videos actually weren't that hard to edit and I probably could have had multiple editors full time and I could have produced like double or triple the amount of videos and I probably lost out on tens of thousands, if not like $100,000+ not outsourcing this sooner. So I would have been able to think of better video ideas, spend more time on the things that actually matter, and the editors would have had better actual editing skills than me, so it would have made my channel grow a lot quicker. And my subscriber count probably would have been more like 2 million plus subscribers instead of 1.2 as it is right now. So again, just a little bit of motivation for you guys. If you take advantage of this at the right time, it could really help your channel grow. And number 5, this one is a really sophisticated purchase, but is the last one. This is purchase number 7, and this is a accounting slash like finance team. This is the most adult purchase, and actually a lot of channels I see, even that are making way more money than I am, don't actually do this. They don't set up a proper structure for their business and are definitely missing out on a lot of tax saving. I personally use a software called collective.com. It's not sponsored whatsoever by them. I just really like the service. And I think it's a easy way to get into this idea of actually having someone do your accounting and finance stuff for you. But obviously they're not cheap. I think for the full year, it's over $4,000. I think it's around $349 per month if you're running a LLC and S Corp structure. But trust me, this is worth every single penny. If your channel starts making money from AdSense, brand deals, maybe your own business products and stuff like that, and you're starting to make some actual good money, then I really would recommend doing your business structure as an LLC. And then of course, if you're doing it all yourself and just have contractors, which most people are in that situation, and then eventually forming your LLC into a S Corp structure. The LLC is just more for like business and creating business accounts and of course just protection overall from your personal and business assets. And then the S Corp is more of a tax designation, I believe it's called, just to make yourself have a little bit more of a tax efficient structure, because you're eventually just going to pay yourself your own salary. And there's something called double taxation. You won't get actually double taxed on the money you make from your salary that you give yourself and the distributions of the business profit that you also take. There's there's not a double taxation on that, so it does save you some money. And if you're starting to make some good money, you'll definitely save a lot more than $4,000 of what this actually costs. Of course, collective.com is trying to make money too, so this is of course a little bit more of a premium than trying to find a local accountant to do this for you. But if you don't have the time to search for a local accountant for like a month, or you just are simply just lazy and don't want to do it like I was, then doing a software like this is really valuable. But something to note here, I would run the math, of course, if something like this is actually worth it, because if you're making a certain amount of money, it might not be worth it to go down the LLC or S Corp route and just basically have a sole proprietorship. But if you start making some good money, it's important to do this type of corporation tax structure. But I am really sad because I did not do this in the peak earning years of my career, at least so far. So I definitely had to write some crazy tax bills to Uncle Sam. If I did this sooner, I would have saved lots of money. Trust me, please, this is worth it to look into depending on how much money you make. I think they recommend if you make over like $60,000 or $80,000, it's worth it, but I would maybe argue that's not the case. I think if you make more than that, maybe it's worth it, but I would look into your exact case and see if it's worth it in your situation. So you of course can do all the bookkeeping yourself, form an LLC by yourself, and do all the crazy tax stuff to become an S Corp. And you have to file this certain taxing like once a year, twice a year. So obviously they do all that stuff for you. You could do it yourself and research all of that, or you could find a local accountant that's probably a little bit cheaper than of this software as well to save some money. But I did the math and I would say you're probably paying like $1,000 premium per year to use this like super easy done it for you software, which I think is worth it, of course, if you don't have a lot of time to worry about this stuff. And the most important thing is it doesn't matter how much money you're actually making. But if this does sound something interesting to you, I would recommend checking the affiliate link down in the description below. If you do sign up using my link, it does support me a little bit, so that is greatly appreciated. Don't feel like you need to do this stuff all day one, but of course, once you're able to slowly start affording each one of these things, slowly just keep upgrading your studio, your equipment, and your business software on the back end, just to help everything go smoothly and just help you operate as a better YouTuber and eventually a business owner, as you'll probably become eventually. So again, all of the links to everything will mostly be down below in the description if you want to support me with some affiliate links. But if you enjoyed, make sure to watch this video right here. This is a personally recommended video just for you that YouTube thinks you would enjoy. And if you like this one, I know you're gonna like that one too. And if you want to help me reach my goal of 1,000 subscribers, here's the subscribe button right there. Without further ado, I'll catch you guys in the next video.